Shalom. I'd like to start out by giving all glory, praise, and honor to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham Ruchak Wadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of the Great Millstone. And Shalom to the elect of Israel. This is Thamayim in Atlanta. And what you've got pulled up on the screen here is the website, theendoftheamericandream.com. And the Elder Barzal always brings up this website. It's pretty good. It has good topics. And we're going to take a look at one of these topics today, or one of these articles. And this one came out December 29th of 2024. And it says, civilizations die from self-deletion. Here are 16 signs that our society is doing exactly that. And that's kind of how Esau goes out, which Esau, Edom are the self-proclaimed white people, as well as those small hatters that call themselves the Lord's people. Those are not Jacob. They're actually Jacob's evil twin brother, Esau. And that's where they come from. And prophetically, the Edomites would run what's known as Babylon the Great. And that is America, aka America. And we're seeing their temporary blessing and rulership come to an end. So there's a bunch of chatter about it, and Esau's moving funny about it. And knowing that judgment is around the corner, eventually they're going to start using their blessing, the sword, to try to extend the blessing that Isaac gave them. But it's not going to work, because they rule their society in wickedness, and the Lord's not going to just let that wickedness stand. Plus, they've done so much throughout their rulership that there is a lot of judgment that they have to experience. And so, getting into the article, it says, when I write about the collapse of society, a lot of people out there think I am exaggerating. Sadly, the truth is that I am not exaggerating at all. The United States, aka Babylon, was once the greatest country in the world. And as it says in Jeremiah, that Babylon was a golden cup in the Lord's hands. And it says, but now we have become one of the most self-destructive societies that the world has ever seen. And this is the Lord turning everything back on them. He's exposing their crimes. He's exposing how they are. And he's slowly bringing down Babylon bit by bit. He's hurting the economy. He's taking down their infrastructure, and they're not rebuilding. He's hurting their birth rates. He's got this opioid epidemic out here for them. And little by little, he's bringing down Babylon the Great. And he's shaming it as well, because the other nations are seeing this collapse. But overall, Esau Edom destroys himself. He uses his most notable of technology, the intercontinental ballistic missile. He's going to use that on himself, and that's going to destroy them. They're like that snake that eats its tail. But getting back to this article, we have turned our backs on the value of our forefathers, which their forefathers were wicked, what do you call those male warlocks? They're basically warlocks. They're all masons, and that's why you have all this basically witchcraft on the dollars and in DC and just throughout America, because those were wicked individuals. They're nothing to look upon as noble. Those were bad men. And we are literally destroying everything that they worked so hard to give us, because you're a destructive people. There's death, and as hell cannot be satisfied. This is earlier today I came across a quote from historian Arnold Toynbee, that really resonated with me. In the mid 20th century, historian Arnold Toynbee, who had studied the varying fates of 28 societies, said civilizations die from self-deletion, not from muerte. And so that's how the Lord sets it up. He has these kingdoms rise and fall, and they end up, their ways aren't righteous ways, so they always turn around to eat them. And then another civilization comes in, or another empire comes in, and takes the last one out violently. But the kingdom of heaven is on its way, and that's going to be the only kingdom that lasts forever and forever. But moving down, it says, he is right. Most great civilizations throughout history have been destroyed from within, and now the exact same thing is happening to us. The following are 16 signs that America is literally committing self-deletion right in front of our eyes. And we'll say America is doing all this self-deletion on its own. And as it says, his wisdom vanished in Teman. But ultimately, it says that great city Babylon will be cast down with violence because it's brought so much violence. So this one, yeah, it's got this, it's decaying right now, and it's going to pick up, but ultimately it's going to be with violence that this place goes out. It says our self-deletion rates just keep going higher and higher, and that is true. That's because people are not happy in the society. Nothing is righteous at all, like from the high prices to the dating and marriage system and how it's all pushed into the benefit of the woman, in which that causes a lot of male self-deletion when they lose their families and their children. And things are just not, they're not fair, they're not righteous, and the vibration's off, so people are in this low state and they're very willing to self-delete. There's even cases of animals self-deleting, and that's just because this place is just so low vibrationally. It says, meanwhile, our birth rate just fell to the lowest level ever recorded. And that's because you had the smart decision, just kidding, to give women power and to give them all these options and opinions and everything, because these people worship the Queen of Heaven. They don't worship the Lord like they say they do. They're all into their Queen of Heaven worship. That's why they celebrate Easter and have their Trinity and believe in a virgin birth and all this. They're Babylonians, and this all goes back to ancient Babylon. But these two together combined make for Esau being made small among the heathen, but in a literal sense. Yes, he's becoming more and more insignificant, but their numbers are dwindling down more and more. But which shows you also that those people that call themselves the Lord's people are not his people, because the Lord said the children of Israel would be as the sand of the sea. But that's one of the lowest populations of a nation in the world. And so you got these two things combined together. And you could also throw in the opioid epidemic, because they're dying off that way. And I'd probably put that into this number one category as well, even though they're not purposely going out to do that. That's what happens from when you do harsh drugs like that. But all this is going into them being made small among the heathen. Let's read this real quick. It says in 2023, the U.S. fertility rate fell another 3% from the year before to a historic low of about 55 births for every 1,000 females aged 15 to 14, according to final data published Tuesday by the CDC, National Center for Health Statistics. Just under 3.6 million babies were born last year, about 68,000 fewer than the year before. Since 2007, when the fertility rate was at its most recent high, the number of births has declined 17%. That's a lot. And the general fertility rate has declined 21%, according to the new report. And it doesn't make any sense what they're doing with women and putting them in this position of power when women have their role, and that's to be within the household and being mothers and being wives and being comforts unto their husbands. But this society tells them to basically negate their highest fertility years and go to school and build their careers. But that's just silly. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And these women are going to start experiencing this too, experiencing the shame of what they've done and seeking their independence, so-called independence, and seeking basically just their solipsism, just thinking about themselves. They're going to be shamed for this because they bit into it so hard and they loved it. And you could see them kind of starting to realize that they have been lied to, as we all have been lied to in this society. That's another reason this place falls. It's all lies and robbery. Number 3, as a society, we are increasingly rejecting the traditional family unit. And that also comes from giving these women all this power because they are flighty, and so they're going to take the first excuse they can to move from one man to another, one family to another. And this makes it to where men don't even want to start these families or actually have relationships with the women. This is it's really huge, and that's the foundation of a society, which is the family unit. They could all fix this with punishing adultery and getting rid of monogamy for men. Doesn't all these things that they push it doesn't work out in the way that they want it to work out. And why would you want to? The Lord gave us the blueprint, and all they do is go adversely to the blueprint. Number 4, instead of greatly valuing our children, we are becoming an anti-child society, and that's because raising a child's extremely expensive here. It says in Texas, law enforcement authorities tell us that there is an epidemic of mothers abandoning their children, and that goes into giving these women all this power, because mothers can go drop off and abandon their child at any fire station and be completely fine. They can self-delete that baby in utero and be completely fine. They can give up the rights to that child and be completely fine, not be shamed whatsoever. And basically, the power of this society is all in the women's hands, and not just the power, but the opinions of the people, and everything is all gynocentric. Not to use one of those manosphere terms, but everything really is pushed so far into the woman's favor that men are actually dropping out of society on the other side. And then when these wars get started up, what incentive do men have to fight in these wars? They'll maybe have a wife at home that once they leave they're going to get cheated on, or she could just leave with zero consequences and take the children, still get half of what the man has, if not more, through child support and all these things. And men are seeing this, and they're not going to participate, or a lot of them aren't going to participate in this war that's coming up. You can already see the militaries have recruitment problems. But yeah, they don't have families, and that goes back up to number 3. So men have nothing to fight for, or no reason to try to keep the society going, because they don't even have families to want to keep this going for. It says the number of in utero baby deletions in the United States is actually higher than it was before RVW was overturned. And that's just wicked. It shouldn't even exist in the first place, and that's just giving these women more power. That seems to be the number one problem. And that's something I realized a while ago, even before the truth of how societies go down. You give women power, and the society self collapses after not too long. And that's what we're watching here. It just doesn't belong in their hands. Even though it's really ruled through the wicked elite here, but their wicked minds gave the women this power. And that was to bring chaos to the place and bring division, because they rule through divide and conquer. And that's just another one of those tactics. And it also goes into their eugenics programs and trying to control the population. That's why you put a number 5 there. And that's why you push the alphabet agenda. And that's why they give women all this power, because women aren't going to do the right thing when it comes down to it. And so I think it's funny too that once RVW was overturned, these women went and did it even more. They actually believe it's a basic right of theirs. Number 6, it says approximately 1 out of every 10 in utero baby deletions in the U.S. happens via pills. So there's another thing, but if we, not even just this type, the whole medical industry is terrible. It doesn't actually heal the problem. It just puts a band-aid on it and charges people a lot of money. This goes into their numbers declining as well, because people die from not being healed. Which I know they didn't bring this up, but that goes into that whole pharmaceutical industry in general. It's wickedness as well. Number 7, tissue from self-deleted babies is used in some of the, because this is a wicked society. It's all full of witchcraft and murder, and it's just nasty. That's crazy stuff right there. Which, that alone, each one of these are going into why America is going down, but they're not understanding this is judgment, because it's been so wicked. They can't even see wickedness anymore. They think they're righteous. Number 8, a woman was just burned alive while she was riding the subway in New York, and everyone is acting like this is perfectly normal. And it says the love of many shall wax cold. And going into all that power being in women's hands, men are seeing this and understand that maybe if they got involved there, they'd end up getting in trouble for it too, or just because this society is so against men, and there's a lack of care for the women because they are in such power and wield it so terribly. It says, thanks to the self-destructive border policies of our politicians, an ultra-violent Venezuelan gang is now entrenched in the U.S. And it's not even just them. There are sleeper cells that have entered the U.S. And they don't control their borders, so what would they expect? Moving on. Number 10, even when criminals are arrested, they are often put back onto the streets. But you look at that, and Esau's immoral. He's been getting out of trouble. They're not in trouble as other men, and then he's the one in charge of this system. So you have to expect corruption and just not a morally upright society. Things aren't going to be fair because Esau is in power. Number 11, kids are committing very serious crime all over the country. Yeah, and these are just going down. I'm going to just finish it out. To a very large degree, we have allowed our lives to be dominated by the technological control matrix that is being constructed all around us. And yeah, you look around, people are always in their phones. They have a hard time building relationships now because they're always in their phones. I saw a study years ago where it's talking about children that are always on the phone or on the computer screen. They have a hard time picking up facial subcommunication in humans. And so that adds to them not being able to actually form viable relationships or form viable families. And this all just goes into this place collapsing. There's nothing, it's not glued together. Everything's separate. And the Lord said He's going to do that. He comes to bring division. And Satan is divided against Satan, but all over this place, people are not, there's no cohesion. Number 13, just like ancient Greece and ancient Rome, we have allowed sexual immorality to run rampant. That goes into all this power that the women have as well. They're meant for one man, but now they have extremely high partners that they have, and that brings on them a lot of baggage, mental baggage as well, spiritual baggage. And not only the women's power, because they got put in power, but who's their best friend? The alphabets. And so they help get them into power as well. And so you have this just deviant society. And then you've got Amalek, the small hatters with the big noses. They're the ones that run all these different dating sites like Tinder, and run these P sites like the Hub, and they push all this immorality onto society because they're immoral people from the get-go. And it brought up Greece and Rome here, and these are the same people. That's Greece and Rome were the beginning of Esau coming into power. Greece, and then he really got there with Rome, and then that beast, Rome being a beast, it fell, its deadly wound was healed. We're in the second iteration of Rome, and it's going to fall in very similar ways to Rome. Even in Rome, the men stopped dealing with the women, or at least there were a certain number of them that did, because their heads are way too big. Number 14, needless to say, the case in Georgia is not an isolated incident. In a previous article, I explained that there are now 795,000 registered deviants in this country. And that goes right back up to number 13. This is an immoral society because you have immoral leadership. In the 1940s, almost 80% of all Americans belonged to a church or some other type of religious institution. Today, that figure is down to just 45%. And that's from Esau Touching the Bible. And changing it to where it's almost unbelievable, or it is unbelievable, and that's why. And it's not the truth. So people are coming out of all these things, and some of the Israelites are actually coming into the truth, but most people are going into believing nothing, or getting into Satanism or some kind of alternative religion, and people aren't going to churches. But it's all a lie in the first place. Every way that Esau has pushed it in his society, from the universal salvation to the idea of hell, to the idea of white Jesus, and even that being his name, and everything they push about it is actually a lie. So we should expect a lie to fall. And then here's more on the churches being shut down. Number 16. But that's because a lot of Edomites as well realize that this book is not for them. They're going back and reading, because the true Israelites are standing up, and they're realizing that they're actually Edomites, and backing out of, or getting out of the church because it doesn't make any sense, as well as looking at what the church does, because those are a bunch of deviants in there too. You see the Catholic Church, and they always get in trouble with these little boys. You see it in Protestant churches as well. And there's deviancy and immorality all throughout this society. And I would say especially in the church, because it's all built on a lie and on false morals. And then the deviancy in these church basements and wherever these preachers are taking these little boys. It's wicked. If you still believe in Christianity, you're wicked. You have a lie in your heart, and your pride won't let you admit it. And really, it's just, Christians are the most frustrating, because they pretend to be of high moral value, but they, at the same time, they say the law is done away with, and don't look into the Lord's true words. But America's falling. It's collapsing from within. We're happy for this new year, or this the new name of this new year, and looking forward to America collapsing, and looking forward to Esau being judged, and looking forward to the Israelites being delivered. But America will not stand. It's a big example of how not to be. This is Isaiah 47 and verse 7. Thou sayest, I shall be a lady forever. This is speaking of Babylon, or the daughter of Babylon, which is America. And they've been in high position for so long that they can't even see that we're literally at their end. They're about to be judged. It says, so that thou didst not lay these things to thy heart, neither didst remember the latter end of it. The latter end of it, let's skip back up to 6. He says, thou wast wroth with my people, I have polluted mine inheritance, and given them into thine hand. The Lord was angry with the Israelites because we broke his law, statutes, and commandments, thus breaking the covenant we have with him. And the Israelites, being the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, he gave us into the hands of the Edomites, so-called white people, and these small hatters. And they completely did us wrong. And it says, thou didst show them no mercy. They showed no mercy whatsoever. Upon the ancient hast thou very heavily laid thy yoke. So we did all the work for them. We built up their kingdom, even our old, even our young, and they showed no mercy. They did some of the most corrupt, despicable things to us, like buck breaking, and looking into the term where motherfucker comes from. Look into that, and the breeding farms, and making us commit incest with our mothers, not to mention the alligator babies, and just so on and so forth. They showed us no mercy, but the Lord said, show them no mercy who showed no mercy. So they're going to have all these things turned back onto them, which we can see already. That's why that guy was writing that article, because he can see that these curses, these plagues are turning onto America. And they didn't remember the latter end of it, because this is judgment that's coming down. Verse 8 says, therefore hear now this, thou that art given to pleasures. And America is likened, or Babylon is likened unto a woman. And the scripts say, she that liveth in pleasure is dead while she liveth. So it's like, was all this worth it? Because you're about to get nuked. The chariots are going to come back with their fire as well. And Esau's going into slavery, and then at the end of that, all of their people will be genocided. So was it worth it to be this wicked? It says that dwellest carelessly, because there's no gates, and they never get struck or attacked. That sayest in thine heart, I am, and none else beside me. Because they have a God complex as well. It says, I shall not sit as a widow, neither shall I know the loss of children. Verse 9, but these two things shall come to thee in a moment, in one day, the loss of children and widowhood. Saw Satan fall as lightning. These these things are going to come upon America, come upon the Edomites extremely quick. It's already looking quick, seeing the plagues being unleashed on this place. They shall come upon thee in their perfection, for the multitude of thy sorceries, and for the great abundance of thine enchantments. Because this place is going to come upon thee in their perfection, because this place is going to be utterly destroyed and left as a landmark of wickedness. It says, for thou hast trusted in thy wickedness, thou hast said, none seeth me. Thy wisdom and thy knowledge it hath perverted thee. And thou hast said in thine heart, I am, and none else beside me. Because they really think that they are above the Most High. They're even going to try to fight the Lord when he returns. And they think they can just do their wickedness behind the shadows, because that's how the elite move. They move in the shadows, and you know how Biggie said, bad boys move in silence and violence. And that's what they do. That's one of their biggest secrets, or greatest powers, is their secrecy. But now people are seeing them. They see what the wicked elite are up to. It gets called out right away. Just look at these attacks recently. People are already calling this stuff out. And then you look at the Edomites in general, and they always try to appear like they're of high moral caliber, when really they've just been robbing and stealing and murdering and laying lies all around the world. It says, therefore, verse 11, therefore shall evil come upon thee, thou shalt not know from whence it riseth, and mischief shall fall upon thee, thou shalt not be able to put it off, and desolation shall come upon thee suddenly, which thou shalt not know. So you cannot get out of this judgment that's coming. It has to happen. The world needs to see it too, because they have wronged the Israelites. They've wronged the planet Earth in general, and they've touched all the other nations. Not that we care about the other nations, because they're going into slavery too, but Esau's been wrong to everyone, including the animals on this planet. Baruch 4:25 says, my children, suffer patiently the wrath that is come upon you from the Most High. The Lord's children are the Israelites, the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, as well as our scattered, because we've been scattered into the four corners of the earth. And since we're talking about Esau, there's even going to be Israelites that through their fathers, actually Israelites that appear as Edomites, but through their fathers actually go back to so-called black men, or so-called Hispanics, or so-called Native Americans, and they are going to actually be Israelites. But for the most part, so-called Caucasians are the Edomites. It says, my children, suffer patiently the wrath that is come upon you from the Most High. For thine enemy hath persecuted thee, because they showed us no mercy. Upon the ancient did they very heavily lay their yoke. It says, but shortly thou shalt see his destruction, and shalt tread upon his neck. In Deuteronomy 30:7, it says all of these curses are going to turn onto our enemies. And everything that happened to us and that they did unto us, it's going to come onto them double. And the Lord's just, he's had it play out like this, and it's beautiful to see these curses falling upon our enemies, especially Esau, Edom, and to see their kingdom, which they love so much, their precious America, falling before our eyes as well. I'm going to skip down to 31. It says, miserable are they that afflicted thee, and rejoiced at thy fall. Miserable are the cities which thy children served. Miserable is she that received thy sons. In America, have both the northern and the southern kingdom, and treated them terribly. And so what goes around comes around. and their cities are about to fall. And that's what the guy in this article that we just read, that's what he was looking into. The ones that afflicted us are the Edomites and the other nations, and rejoiced at our fall. Happy are we that happy are Salakia. Forget that the line. But jumping down to 33, it says, "For as she rejoiced at thy ruin and was glad of thy fall, so shall she be grieved for her own desolation." And you even hear him talking about it now and trying to get everyone to help and pitch in to try to build America back, make America great again. Biden said, build back better, but this place is polluted and it's going to fall. It says in Jeremiah, we would have healed Babylon, but she cannot be healed. You can't put this place back up. It was here, it's done its wickedness, and now it's time to be judged. It says, "For I will take away the rejoicing of her great multitude." Just look at the so-called holiday season that just happened. It was that rejoicing that you normally see or saw years ago. It's not the same anymore. All of the holidays that just passed, it's not the same. They're not rejoicing. They're not happy seeing these people. It's being taken away. "And her pride shall be turned into mourning," because this is the most proud of all the nations. It says, had that stout look. This is a very proud nation. You know, they even say it. It's one of their sayings, proud to be an American. And it's all turning away. It's actually embarrassing to be an American because of all the plagues that are here, because of its violent history, because of its lies, because of its false medical system that actually the food gives you cancer, and or it all plays together. The fake foods with their lack thereof of a medical system. It's all killing people. There's nothing to be proud of. Or the historical lies that have been put around the world, the going around and destabilizing nations and then setting up puppet leaders to extract resources from these places. There's nothing to be proud of. You should actually, if you're proud of America, you're evil as well. Just like those Christians. This is a wicked, wicked society. Verse 35. "For fire shall come upon her from the everlasting." The Lord is bringing fire on this place. He's going to bring it through his chariots, and he's going to bring it through the ICBMs. "Long to endure, and she shall be inhabited of devils for a great time." Because once America falls, it's only going to be unclean creatures inhabiting this place. No humans whatsoever. But this place is falling. People can see it. They're already hating on 2025 coming in. But Lord willing, this is the year that our deliverance happens and judgment upon the Edomites happens. And so, Lord willing, that was edifying. I'd like to give all glory, praise, and honor to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham Rakak Wadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of the great millstone. Shalom to the elect of Israel. Shalom.